Welcome to everyone who joined during the meditation time. I want to introduce our speaker, Bhikkhu Akiñcano. So Bhikkhu Akiñcano is a monk in the Thai forest tradition. He is an Englishman, even though I could not really verify this, but I assume so. And he used to be a lecturer at a university in England for English language and linguistics. And in 2014, he became an ordained monk under the very well-known Ajahn Amaro. And by now, Bhante, you should be called a terror because you fulfilled the 10 years, 5 years of training and additional 5 years. That makes you, so to say, in the order of the Sangha, puts you in the position of a teacher, right? Or the possibility of a teacher. And actually you are teaching, and that's how I actually got aware of you. You're running Zoom courses from your kuti in Sri Lanka. Bhikkhu Akiñcano was inspired by the writings of Jnanavira during his monk time, and consequently, when he was one day in Sri Lanka or traveling or staying in Sri Lanka, he visited the kuti that Bhante Jnanavira used to stay, which was built for him. And the wish was for Bhante Akiñcano to stay there, and now he's staying there already 5 years. Is that correct, Bhante?
Right.
And when I was in Sri Lanka, I had the wish to visit him because where I stayed in Tangale was not so far away from Pambula National Park, where the kuti is. And at that time I met Lars from Denmark, who is also here, Lars Toft. And we both took a taxi and we visited just spontaneously Bhikkhu Akiñcano. And luckily he was at home. And he was so friendly to welcome us at his kuti. And we stayed there for a couple of hours. I don't even remember how long. And he allowed us to also record our conversation, which you can still see on Buddha Talk YouTube channel. Probably some of you have seen it already. The background to the meeting of today is that I myself are running in our community a course on Paṭiccasamuppāda, dependent origination. And I wanted to hear or invite for our class, some of our class who are English speaking are here in this Zoom, another voice on the subject. And I asked Bhikkhu Akiñcano if he would be willing to give us a talk on the subject of Paṭiccasamuppāda. So here we are. Welcome, Bhikkhu Akiñcano. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking the time. How great that you have an internet connection at your kuti. You are sitting on the path of your walking meditation path, which has a little board on the end, and you add another board so you can use it like a desk, which is very nice. Yeah. So I'm passing on the microphone to Bhante.
Okay. Paṭiccasamuppāda, however you're going to translate that word. I generally go with dependent origination just because of habit, dependent co-arising. Anyway, the first thing I thought when Raymond suggested that I talk about Paṭiccasamuppāda was the famous statement by Venerable Sariputta in Majjhima Nikaya 28. He says, the Blessed One, according to the Buddha, whoever sees Paṭiccasamuppāda sees the Dhamma. Whoever sees the Dhamma sees Paṭiccasamuppāda. Okay, so what does that mean? Whoever sees Paṭiccasamuppāda sees the Dhamma. Whoever sees the Dhamma sees Paṭiccasamuppāda. Well, if you don't know what Paṭiccasamuppāda is, then you don't know what the Dhamma is. I guess that's what it means, isn't it? It's not possible to know what the Dhamma is without knowing what Paṭiccasamuppāda is. You might hear some people saying, oh, I've been practicing the Dhamma for a very long time. Don't get that Paṭiccasamuppāda bit, though. That's really complicated. But, I've been practicing the Dhamma for a very long time. Well, strictly speaking, you don't know what Paṭiccasamuppāda is, and you don't really know what the Dhamma is. Paṭiccasamuppāda is described as the Ariya Nyaya, the noble method or the noble way. It's the way that the noble ones kind of go practice. So if you think about the suttas, what are the suttas? All of the suttas that that we have English, German translations of. What are they doing? They're accounts of the Buddha or one of the Buddha's disciples who's kind of describing the Dhamma to us. Yeah, they're kind of, it's, those suttas are basically a description of the Dhamma. You want to see things like this. Look at your experience in this way. If you were to see things like this, then you would understand what the end of suffering is. So the suttas are, all basically showing us what the Dhamma is. So doesn't that mean then that all of the suttas are showing us what Paṭiccasamuppāda is? It's to see the Dhamma is to see Paṭiccasamuppāda. So what I'm suggesting then is that all of the suttas are in some way about Paṭiccasamuppāda. All of them. And that might seem a bit strange because, you'd think, no, only those ones. Some of them are the ones that are kind of, avijja paccaya sankhara, sankhara paccaya vijnana, vijnana paccaya nama rupa. Yeah, those ones are about dependent origination. Samyutta Nikaya 12, they're all about dependent origination. Quite a few suttas in the Majjhima Nikaya, they mention dependent origination. But then there's all the other ones that don't mention that kind of thing. Talk about, I don't know, the aggregates or the senses or what have you. They're not about dependent origination, are they? Well, they kind of must be, mustn't they? If to see Paṭiccasamuppāda is to see the Dhamma is to see Paṭiccasamuppāda. So I thought what I could do today, just show you a couple of 2 or 3 suttas or 2 or 3 kind of ideas within the suttas that don't mention dependent origination, but are actually, in fact, about dependent origination. So let me see. Can I share my screen? I think I can. Is that working? I've got the Pali over on this side. And a friend of mine, Stefan, who's on the call, came up with this German translation here in the middle. And then my own translation on the right. Let me know if the connection drops off. It seems to be working. So this is the sutta where you have 2 monks, Venerable Mahakotika, I think it is, and Venerable Sariputta. in conversation, Majjhima Nikaya 43, Venerable Mahakotika asks Venerable Sariputta, but friend, feeling, perception, and consciousness, are these things together or are they separate? And is it possible for the difference to be made known by separating these things? Friend, feeling, perception, and consciousness, these things are together. They're not separate. And it is not possible for the difference to be made known by separating these things. For friend, whatever one feels, that one perceives. Whatever one perceives, that one is conscious of. So these things are together. They're not separate. It's not possible for the difference to be made known by separating them. It's not possible to sort of find out the difference between these things by separating them out and looking at them in isolation, because they never are in isolation, because they are always together. Because whatever it is that you feel, whatever it is that feels pleasant or unpleasant or neutral, that is being perceived. And that is what you are conscious of. So feeling, perception, and consciousness can only ever be experienced together. That they are utterly inseparable. Even in your imagination, you can't imagine those things being separate. They're five inextricably related facets of any experience you could possibly have. These things are inseparable. What does that mean? It means when for you there is a feeling, there is a perception. Has to be. Whenever there's a perception, there's a feeling. If there wasn't any feeling in your experience, then there wouldn't be any perception. But if there is feeling, then there is perception. Well, when there is a feeling, there is perception. Whenever there is a feeling, there is a perception. But if there isn't, whenever there is not a feeling, there is not a perception. You can't have one without the other. You can't have one on its own. These things are inseparable. As soon as feelings manifested in your experience, perceptions were there as well. It's not like there was a moment when you were being born and you were experiencing pure feeling but no perception. No. As soon as there was feeling, as soon as feeling appeared in your experience, perception appeared. And when feeling ceases, perception will cease. When there is this, there is this. Imasming sati idang hoti. You could translate that as like, whenever there is this, there is this. Or if there is this, there is this. While there is this, there is this. For as long as there is this, there is this. For as long as there is, for example, for as long as there is feeling, there is perception. Whenever there isn't feeling, there can't be perception. As soon as that appears, as soon as the feeling appears, the perception appears. When the feeling with the cessation of feeling, perception ceases. So this is the Arya Nyaya that the Buddha talks about. This is called Arya Nyaya. This is called Paṭiccasamuppāda. Whenever there's this, there's something else. So Paṭiccasamuppāda. So Paṭiccasamuppanna. The Buddha talks about Paṭiccasamuppanna Dhamma. Paṭiccasamuppanna Dhamma. So things that are dependently co-arisen. What does that mean? Things that are Paṭiccasamuppanna, it means uppanna means it has appeared. Paticca, because of, sang, together with something else. So feeling is Paṭiccasamuppanna. Feeling is something that has appeared in your experience, but it's appeared because of and together with perception. You might be wondering, but how does that work? How do feelings, let's say, feeling, if feeling depends upon perception, then how does perception kind of make feeling? But that's not really the right kind of way to go. I don't think that's the right question. All that the Buddha's saying is that to say that these things are Paṭiccasamuppanna is just to say, when there's that, there's that. Can't have that one without that. They're inseparable. They come together. Why they come together, that's beside the point. You don't need to worry about that. These 5 aggregates, according to the Buddha, are Paṭiccasamuppanna. They're there, they've appeared, but they've appeared dependently. So it isn't just avijja paccaya sankhara, sankhara paccaya vijnana, vijnana namarupa salayatana, all of these are, this is the, the 12-fold scheme that appears again and again through the suttas. But all that is just one illustration of an underlying principle. So we can say that, avijja, sankhara, vijnana, namarupa, all of these things are Paṭiccasamuppanna Dhamma. Paṭiccasamuppanna Dhammas. That's how they're described in the suttas. But so are the aggregates. So is anything you can imagine. According to the Buddha, there's one thing that isn't Paṭiccasamuppanna, that isn't Sankhata, and that would be Nibbana. But unless you've entered the stream of Dhamma and are a noble disciple, then you don't really know what Nibbana is yet. Anything you can possibly imagine is Paṭiccasamuppanna. So maybe now, you may be wondering how to square this with the usual metaphor that gets used to talk about, when people are talking about Paṭiccasamuppāda. Paṭiccasamuppāda, the underlying kind of principle, or the nature of all paticcasamuppanna phenomena, anything that is paticcasamuppanna sort of has this quality, which we can call Paṭiccasamuppāda. This basic principle. And yeah, that basic principle, I think, sort of usually, pretty much universally, gets described as with the metaphor of links in a chain. 12 links in a chain. So I invite you to find a place in the suttas where that simile is found. Maybe I've missed it, maybe it is there, but I don't think it is. Links in a chain. 12 links in a chain. It's like it gives this impression of a chain of events. This links to this, which links to this, which links to this, and it's kind of a line, a linear process, a chain of events. But I don't think that's what's being described here. What's being described here is not a chain of events. It's simply the simultaneous presence of two things there in your experience that are dependent upon each other. When there's X, there has to be Y. Can't not be. The simile you do find, or the metaphor you do find in the suttas, is two sheaves of reeds, or sort of bundles of grass. They've been sort of tied up into bundles and then rest on each other. The one's put like that, the other one's put like that, and they support each other. They're there, they've appeared dependent upon each other. When there's this, there's this. When there's this, there's this. You take this one away, what happens? Can that one stay there, even for a second? Absolutely not. It's utterly dependent upon that being there. Similarly, if you take that one away, that one's going to fall. But for as long as that's there, that's also there. For as long as that's also there, that's also there. So not so much 12 links in a chain, just 12 phenomena that you're always going to find together. 12 aspects of your experience that are always going to be there together. They have to be. If there's, aging, death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, despair. I mean, that's the way, the way it's kind of presented was the Buddha would, before he became the Buddha, he asked himself these questions. Oh yeah, I am subject to getting old, getting sick, and dying, and suffering, and crying, lamentation, pain, grief, despair. Ooh, I'm not free from that. And so he asks him, what is it that is also there in my experience that kind of makes it possible for there to be aging, sickness, death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, despair? Something that it is like the necessary condition for getting sick, getting old, dying, being born. For as long as I am born, for as long as there is, being born, then there's going to be getting old and dying. Inseparable. When there's this, there's this. And so he asks these questions and gets progressively kind of, deeper and deeper, bringing it all back to kind of ignorance. But there's a sense in which you don't need to worry too much about the order of those items because, well, they're all there together, aren't they? If there is craving, there is ignorance. For as long as there is craving, there is old age, death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, despair. "12 phenomena that you find are there in your experience, sort of these sort of dimensions of your experience that are kind of resting upon each other, like the sheaves of reeds. You take one of them away, it all falls down. So it's the same with so so it isn't just the suttas that are talking about avijja paccaya sankhara, sankhara paccaya vijnana. Any of the suttas that are talking about our experience in terms of panchakanda, the 5 aggregates, same underlying principle. Here you are, and your experience is fully dependent upon these 5 things that are there, supporting each other, having appeared dependently, inseparable. Not only that, anything more particular that can sort of manifest in your experience depends upon these 5 aggregates being there. And those 5 aggregates are just sort of precariously balancing on each other. You're not kind of holding it up. They're supporting each other for the time being. But understanding the nature of these 5 aggregates properly, or the 12 phenomena in the Nidana, Samyutta, suttas and what have you, understanding these properly means understanding that they have the nature to appear, they have the nature to fall away, to cease. And that's not on you, it's just their nature. These 5 aggregates were just thrown upon you for no good reason. You didn't ask for them. I'll be conscious, I think. I think I'll go for consciousness. I think I'll have a body. I didn't ask for this, I didn't ask for any of it. It was just thrown at me, and it will at some point, the owner is going to come along and say, I'm having that back now. And there's nothing I can do to stop that. And all of the petty worries and the little things that I kind of, concern myself throughout my day, all depends upon that. seeing the dependently arisen. Actually, the aggregates are described as anicca, sankhata, paticcasamuppāda. And then I think it's kaya dhamma, viraga dhamma, nirodha dhamma. So they are, I might be wrong about that. I should have checked. But it's, so they're impermanent, they are conditioned or determined by something else. They're resting upon something else. They are paticcasamuppāda, same thing. They have appeared dependent upon and because of some other thing that is impermanent, unreliable, dependently arisen. Their nature is to be destroyed, cease. So all of the, I guess the main point is that all of the suttas that are about the aggregates are essentially about dependent origination as well. Okay, how about suttas that are not about the aggregates, but the senses? So because of the eye and visible things you can see, eye consciousness arises. The meeting of the three is contact. With the support of contact, feeling. So this is all over the suttas. Again, though, I think usually this is thought of as a chain of events, a sequence, a process. You know, like sort of almost like a chemical formula. You know, like get methane, you burn methane and it combines with oxygen and it produces carbon dioxide and water. You get an eye and you get visible things and you get them together and it produces eye consciousness. And then you put those three together and you get this thing called contact. And then out of contact, this magical feeling emerges from the contact, as if it's some kind of process. So what if we were to think about this not as a process, not as a temporal sequence of events, but as another description of the dependently co-arisen nature of these facets of your experience. So right now in your experience, is there an I? Are there visible things? Could there be visible things if there wasn't an I? Well, not for you. Would there be an I if there were no visible things? Like, if I didn't have any, if there was no visible things in my experience, then I wouldn't know what an I is. But because there are visible things, I know that there's an I here. I can't see my eye, but I know that there's an I because I can see things. So I and visible things are inseparable. can't have one without the other. When there's this, there's this. If there isn't this, then there isn't this. As soon as an eye manifested, there were visible things there. And at, at the, I don't want to say the moment, but when the eye ceases, then visible things can't hang around on their own. So if there's an eye in your experience and there are visible things, is it possible for that to be the case? Is it possible for there to be an eye in visible things without you being conscious? Without you being alive? What is consciousness? It's the fact that something is there in my experience, whatever that may be. If there were no consciousness, there wouldn't be anything there in my experience. There would be nothing. But because there's consciousness, something is there in my experience. So if there's an I and visible things in my experience, then there has to be consciousness. They come together. Not in a kind of, at one moment there's the I and then a nanosecond later the consciousness arises. No, that's inseparable. They're together, supporting each other, resting on each other, simultaneously given. So the Buddha gives that a name, doesn't it? He calls that contact, those three things. When there are those three things there, he calls it contact. There's this sense of I am in a world. There's things and there's me here, like perceiving these things. For an ordinary person, for a Paṭiccasamuppāda, that contact is basically the sense of the world out there and me here. Me on the other side of all of the whole world. This reliable kind of core at the center of it, the heart of it all, as opposed to the dangerous world out there. But even for a arahat, there's still sort of some kind of contact in the sense that there's, tree there, and there's these senses here that, like my eye here, that's making it possible for me to see that tree. So I see the tree. I can see the tree. So for an ordinary person, that I is like the self at the heart of it all. For an arahat, they still say I can see the tree, but that I doesn't mean the same thing. It's just there's these impermanent senses here. So whenever there is this sense of being in a world, contact, then there has to be some kind of feeling. You have to be experiencing either pleasant feeling or an unpleasant feeling or a neutral feeling for as long as you're in a world. Take away the I am contacted by things and there won't be any feeling. There won't be any perception. But for as long as there is this I'm in contact with things are felt, things are perceived. These features of your experience are simultaneously present, all there together. But they depend upon each other. They're resting upon each other. They're kind of they're being held up by each other. For the time being. Because as the Buddha teaches, they have the nature to cease. So, okay. Maybe you're thinking, I've just picked two suttas that are, these are like, maybe I just cherry picked these two. They're quite conceptual, aren't they? Yeah, aggregates and the senses. Those are quite sort of conceptual suttas. What about more practical suttas where, say, for example, the Buddha is talking about meditation. So he's just talking about, say, mindfulness of the body. That's not analytical. Surely that's not about dependent origination, mindfulness of the body, kayanupassana, or kayagata sati. Same thing, just different words. Being mindful of this body. Well, what does that mean? What does the Buddha mean when he's describing, his noble disciples who are developing mindfulness of the body? So you might think that mindfulness of the body involves focusing your attention on an object, in this case, the body. So, at least since Buddhaghosa in the Visuddhimagga, we have the idea of meditation objects. You take a meditation object, so in this case, the body, and you focus your attention on it for as long as you can to concentrate the mind. So the word that Buddhaghosa uses is kammatthana, meditation objects. And again, I invite you to have a look through the suttas and see where can you find the word kammatthana? Yeah, you can. It appears in, I think it's in 5 suttas, but it doesn't mean meditation object. Kammatthana does not mean meditation object. It means the kind of discipline that you work within. Your field of work. I work in education. I work in business. What have you? So how about, instead, a common way of thinking about mindfulness of the body, developing mindfulness of the body, would be to pick some bit of your body and fix your attention on it for as long as you can. So that might be the sensations under your nose or in your abdomen or other part of your body, or why restrict it to the faculty of touch? How about faculty of vision? How about I focus my attention on my hand and stare at my hand for as long as I can? Keep my attention fixed on my hand. Someone comes along to my kuti. Oh, Bhante, can I ask you a question? No, sorry, I can't talk to you. I'm practicing. I've got to focus my attention on my hand. I can't move my attention away from this. No, but we'd like to help you. No, I can't. It seems a bit ridiculous, doesn't it? So how about the body not as an object in the world, even though, your body is an object in the world, you know, I got this bottle of water here, that's an object in the world, and then there's this body here, which is also an object in the world. It's just that this body is a kind of special object in the world, at least from my perspective, it is, because this body is, it is an object, but it's that particular object in the world that makes it possible for me to have any experience of objects in the world. It's that particular thing in the world that allows me to perceive, feel things in the world. So not my body as an object, but my body as the necessary condition for there to be objects. What it is that makes it possible for me to be attending to whatever it is that I am attending to right now. I couldn't be attending to whatever it is that I'm attending to if I didn't have a body. But that body, as the necessary condition for the object of my attention, is in a different place from the object of my attention, isn't it? I can't really attend to it because it's always the necessary condition for whatever it is that I'm attending to. So I can't attend to it, but I can know that it's there. And I can sort of remember that it's there. Not do anything that obscures my capacity to remain mindful of this body here. That is the necessary condition for what it is that I am focusing my attention on, or what I'm doing, or what I'm saying, or what have you. So when there's this, whatever it is that I'm doing, saying, looking at, when there's this, the body. If there weren't this, there wouldn't be that. As soon as that appears, the body appeared. Like, if the body ceases, this ceases. Two aspects of my experience that are precariously balancing on each other. So one who develops mindfulness of the body in the way that the Buddha teaches it is practicing the Arya Nyaya, the noble method, the noble way. They are if you like, cultivating the perception of Paṭiccasamuppāda. And so, yeah, the suttas, all of the teachings, everything that the Buddha was teaching was, essentially all bound up with this idea, this insight that he called Paṭiccasamuppāda. And I think it's probably also just worth making a connection with another term that is obviously right at the heart of the Dhamma. So when the Buddha teaches, as he's giving a teaching, even if it's not explicitly about, you know, avijja, paccaya, the 12 phenomena, or the 12 links, as a lot of people say, but so even if it's not explicitly, even if not saying the word Paṭiccasamuppāda, he says, okay, I'll teach you this. Attend so in the right way. Attend properly to what I'm about to say. So manasi karoti, attend. And then you often get sadhukang, which means kind of well, attend well. But probably more common is this idea of yoniso manasikara. Right, I'm going to teach the Dhamma. You want to be attending yoniso. So, and also, you know, we're told that yoniso manasikara is one of the conditions, the necessary conditions for the arising of the right view, samaditthi, entering the stream of Dhamma. So if there's no yoniso manasikara, then there's no entering the stream of Dhamma. But if there is yoniso manasikara, then there can be entering the stream of Dhamma. So yoniso manasikara, you know, often gets thought of as, you know, just like, I don't know, careful attention, which doesn't really tell us very much. And also, I think is quite misleading, because careful, like I've got to look really careful, like closely at it. Like really kind of focus in on something, not miss a bit. Like it's like focusing, yeah, zooming into something. I think it's going to be more helpful to have noticed more. The Buddha sort of is more interested in taking a stepping back, big picture. Yoniso manasikara can get translated as what, proper attention or wise attention, which again is fine, but again doesn't really tell us very much. That's not to say it's wrong, but maybe we can learn something from the fact that yoni. So yoniso is an adverb, an ablatival adverb. So it has this. So it's not so much what you're attending to, but how you are attending to whatever it is that you are attending to. It's a way of attending to things, whatever. And yoni means womb, or source, or origin. And if it's an ablatival adverb, then it has this sense of from the source, from the origin, or maybe because of the origin. So I'm kind of trying out. For me, at the moment, my kind of preferred translation for yoniso manasikara is something like originary attention, which I know sounds a bit strange. It's a word that philosophers use. Originary thinking is a kind of thinking that involves thinking about what it is that makes it possible for me to be sitting here thinking. The phenomenologists often use the word sort of transcendental thinking, and that is also a kind of originary perspective, a perspective on whatever it is that you're attending to. So somebody for whom there isn't yoniso manasikara are attending to something. You're always attending to something. There's always something that is the focus of your attention. That's just the way experience is given. There is what you are attending to, and then there's other stuff that you're not attending to. So somebody who is attending to something in an ayoniso way, I think, is somebody who is so absorbed in what is in front of them that they've lost sight of everything else. Whereas somebody who is attending in a yoniso way, not only am I attending to this thing, whatever it is that I'm attending to, but I'm also aware of something else, another aspect of my experience, without which I wouldn't be able to attend to this thing. I'm aware of the origin of the object of my attention. I'm aware of the necessary condition, or what makes it possible for there to be this object of attention in front of me. With that general attitude, that kind of perspective, that big picture, not losing sight of the kind of whole, it becomes possible to pick up on this phenomenon right at the heart of the suttas, Paṭiccasamuppāda. This, whatever is there in front of you, is whatever it is that you can possibly attend to. Whatever has the nature to appear is anicca, sankata, paticcasamuppanna. I think I've probably talked for about an hour. That might be a place to stop and see if anybody has any thoughts, questions, contributions.
In this case, just unmute your microphone and go ahead.
Bhante?
Please, Bhante, go ahead.
Yeah. Bhante, I just wanted to understand that, there are some traditions who actually connect Paṭiccasamuppāda with emptiness. I wanted, to get your perspective about that.
Okay. I don't think I can say very much because I don't know anything. I don't really know very much about, I've not done very much study of all of the Buddhist traditions out there. I've basically made the choice to, I guess, base my practice on, like, as much as I can, take the Buddha as the teacher. And it seems like the sensible way of doing that is, looking at these Pali Suttas, or possibly the Chinese Agamas. You haven't really got round to those yet. So all I can say is that, the notion of emptiness does appear in the suttas. But I don't think it's the same thing as what many people are referring to when they say the word emptiness. You know, empty, like everything is empty, nothing is real, everything is an illusion. There's nothing there. So I don't know if this is relevant to the traditions that you have in mind, but you know, what's interesting with how the Buddha uses the word empty is like, well, in a number of places, it's he's talking about recognizing that your experience is empty of something. So that doesn't mean that your experience is not real. The whole thing is just an illusion. It just means that this particular thing you recognizing is absent, is not there. My experience right now is empty of this. And there are suttas where, you know, the Buddha describes that as a kind of progression. How you can then, so the kind of basically the jhana story, where somebody sort of stops giving any kind of attention or importance to a particular feature of their experience, and dwells in a place where it's kind of free from that disturbance that is no longer present, always used to be present, now it's not present, so it's empty of that disturbance. But there's this disturbance. What if I kind of abandon this? And then they can dwell in a place where, you know, they recognize, my experience right now is empty of that that disturbance as well. I don't know whether I've answered your question, Venerable.
Yes, Bhante. Thank you so much. Bhante, I have one other question. You said that 12 dimensions of Paṭiccasamuppāda simultaneously arise. They arise simultaneously. The 12 dimensions, I mean. For example, you know, at this point in time, there is craving arising in my mind. How can one see even the suffering, which is a part of craving, arising at that moment? For example, there is a craving towards something. How can I also see the related suffering that is also a part of it? Or for example, if I know, or you know, if I can say that I know that I have already taken birth, but at this moment, how can I also see that old age is also there, is also present simultaneously?
I guess by not trying to think of it as some kind of temporal sequence, and the fact that for like if you're talking about this moment here, then once you're talking about moments, once you're thinking about moments, you are thinking about temporal progression. So thinking more generally, much more generally than this, you know, you can ask yourself, look, could something happen to me that would upset me, that would disturb me, that I would find it difficult to handle? Because right now everything's fine, you know, birds are tweeting, everything's lovely. But could something happen to me that would, you know, knock this all over, and I would struggle? If the answer to that question isn't no, there isn't anything that could disturb me, then there's a problem. So, you know, right, okay, I am still within the domain of suffering. Now, what is it without which I wouldn't be in this domain of suffering? Ah, craving. So there's craving here. There has to be craving here because here I am still disturbable. It's got nothing to do with moments.
But Bhante, wouldn't that imply logically that as long there is dying, there must be craving, which isn't, right? There is a dying which can be without craving.
Yeah, that's it. So I guess so that's the thing. You're now getting into the issue of like, so how should these 12 phenomena be interpreted? What is it that they are referring to? So dying. Well, let's put it this way. So dying. Is there dying in your experience? Actually, for most people, they would say, no, I'm not dying. I'm fine. Dying is something that happens, in the future. It happens to everybody over there and over there. And it happens in the future. It's at arm's length. It isn't really here. And I think that's like, the you mentioned Jnanavira at the beginning, and his interest in the phenomenology and existentialism. They had a very interesting, helpful way of thinking about dying, which is not something that I can understand in a third person way, and it's not something that's there in the future. It is the fact that right now, right here, right now, I am subject to death. I'm going to die. As soon as I was born, I was old enough to die. Dying, death, is an inherent, inescapable aspect of my experience. So so then the Buddha asks himself, okay, the necessary condition for me to be like subject to death, old age, sickness, death, is that I was born, birth. Again, not as a kind of a moment in the past. It's that I was born. Here I am living as I was born, and I will die. They are, fundamental features of my experience. So what is it that's also there in my experience, that's simultaneously given, without which there wouldn't be any I was born and I will die? Ah, I am. Bhava Paccaya Jati. I am. For as long as I exist, I was born and I will die. So if there is no sense of I am, there can't possibly be any sense of I was born or I will die. But for as long as there is a sense of I am, then there is samsara.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you too. Hello, Bhante. I thank you very much. You mentioned essential things for my opinion and my understanding of Paṭiccasamuppāda. And the last thing you said, for me, my understanding is this: there if I'm born, I'm living, and to die means, and as long as it exists, there is karma. I'm acting, I'm causing and make conditions to continue. That you said with samsara, no? And so long it exists with a kaliko. That means my access is the five khandha you said. That is and conditioned are, and Buddha said namarupang and vinyanang, and so it's that they condition one to the other, stay stable, and so, and namarupang are the four khandha, the first four, and the fifth is vinyanang, and so for me, Paṭiccasamuppāda, so I can see Paṭiccasamuppāda with namarupang and vinyanang. And with the emptiness, for me, you said the experience, and the experience, the Buddha said in Majjhima 121 and 2, is the perception itself. Perception is the factor who carries this to emptiness or not. That is my. Do you agree?
I'm not sure what I'm supposed to. What I'm agreeing with. What
that experience? Experience. The factor experience means concretely the perception of things or not.
So there cannot be any there can't be any experience without you perceiving something, without there being some perception.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah, it's not possible. The feeling, and then perception, but the factor. And I'm sorry if my English is not so. I'm not accustomed to talk Dhamma in English, more in Pali and in German. For this, I hope I use the right words. So, but the decisive factor is not the feeling, but the perception. I wanted to say.
In relation to what?
Of emptiness or not.
Right. Yeah. So I think maybe what you're picking up on is the developing the perception emptiness. Because
when there is not a kinchi, something.
Yeah. That when something is absent, when something. So not only is something absent from your experience, some disturbance that had always been there, but you found this place where it's gone. It's not here. It can't disturb me here.
It's no factor.
Yeah. So the Buddha talks about that cultivating the perception of that. So not only it has that thing ceased, that feature of your experience has ceased, you have the perception that it has ceased. So that's the whole kind of progressive cessation of sankharas, that is jhana, is the recognition or the development of the perception that for example, first jhana, that sensuality, all sensual desire, is impossible here. I can see that. And that perception, with that perception, this is really pleasant. So yes, I think perception is a key issue. I think that's what you're saying. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Armin.
Mirat, go ahead.
Yes. Hello, Bhante. I had a question, and I think with regard to the traditional Theravada interpretation of Paṭiccasamuppāda and Buddhaghosa and Visuddhimagga. And in 1998, Bhikkhu Bodhi wrote a critical analysis of Nanavira's perspective on this. And so I was wondering if you can briefly elaborate on your interpretation versus the traditional Theravada interpretation of the 12 phenomena and the 3 lives. Thank you.
Okay, so that's it. Yeah, you're right. So the traditional Theravada interpretation, basically the Theravada is, I became a monk in as Raymond said in the Thai forest tradition. So it's like I'm a Theravadan monk. Although, actually, funnily enough, I don't really feel part of the Thai forest tradition anymore. I've been living on my own for 5 years now. I'm not really in any group, apart from kind of largely speaking the Sangha. But even though at the beginning I sort of became a Theravada monk, I then realized that actually, no, Theravada is the commentarial tradition, isn't it? The Theravada is the way of the Theras, that whole kind of tradition is it's the commentarial, the Visuddhimagga tradition, the Buddhaghosa tradition. The Buddhaghosa is he's got like top place in this, isn't he? He's the, I've heard it said, you can't understand the suttas unless you read it through the commentaries and the Visuddhimagga. But Buddhaghosas, you have to get to the Buddha through Buddhaghosa. So what do you want me to say? So the traditional Theravada interpretation of Paṭiccasamuppāda is not only is it links in a chain, but that chain runs over 3 lifetimes. And to be honest, Mehrdad, I don't even really want to entertain, I don't really want, it's been such a long time since I've thought about how they made sense of that, how they where are the bits between the first life and the second life and the third, where does it actually join? I think I did read that a long time ago, but it's been such a while. I guess I'm just saying I'm coming at it in a completely different way, which is, as I was saying today, I think it is going to be more helpful if you discard the metaphor of links and chains and think more in terms of 2 things resting upon each other. That maybe picking up on what Armin said, the nama rupa vijnana. So that is described in the suttas as some when there's nama rupa there's vijnana, when there's vijnana there's nama rupa. So like nama rupa paccaya vijnana, but also vijnana paccaya nama rupa. So it's sort of, they double back on each other, and that's the only of those 12. They're the only 2 where you see that, and so people think maybe there's some special relationship there between them. But I don't think we need to kind of think that. It's like, look, if there's craving, there's suffering. If there's suffering, there's craving. Yeah. 2 things. Supporting each other. The order is not so important. The order of the 12 phenomena, the 12 Paṭiccasamuppāda Dhammas, the order is a reflection of the Buddha's questioning. What's the necessary condition for this? Okay, you're right. Yeah. So, but what is it that's also there in my experience without which there wouldn't be this? That. And it starting at the end goes all the way back to avijja, ignorance. So that's what the order is a reflection of. But all of those phenomena are, as Stefan says, it's structural, not temporal. Yeah, exactly. Those phenomena are all there together, lifting each other, supporting each other, holding each other up.
Bhante, may I introduce the term akaliko? You said now, and you said initially, as the Buddha said, if you see the Dhamma, you see Paṭiccasamuppāda, you see the Dhammo, and Dhammo is akaliko, and Paṭiccasamuppāda, it's the same. It's only from different views, from the perspective is different, but it's all the same. And so there is not so you said it cannot be linear. Our thinking is so very linear, and it's timeless. It's akaliko, and so the three lives concept is not. I have no clue to understand why you can think this way, because it's akaliko. You must see akaliko in Paṭiccasamuppāda. That's essential for me.
Absolutely, absolutely, very well put, Armin. Absolutely. The so the Dhamma is sanditthiko akaliko. It's sort of visible. It's immediately seeable. You can see it. You don't have to wait for it. Hang on a minute, this thing hasn't ceased yet, so I'll have to just wait until it ceases, and then I'll know that it ceases. No. I know right here, right now, that thing has the nature to cease. And yes, akalika, the key word is akalika. So akaliko, akala means time. Kalika kind of makes it an adjective, so time-ish, temporal. And akalika is negative, so atemporal. So the Dhamma is atemporal. The Dhamma is not time-ish. It's not to do with time. But you don't want to go too far. That doesn't mean that there's no such thing as time. The Buddha isn't saying, oh yeah, time is just an illusion. There's no such thing as time. He actually says, if anyone were to say that, if any thinkers were to try to kind of convince other people that there's no such thing as time, they'd be laughed out of the room. Of course there's time. Everyone knows we experience time. It's just so to say that the Dhamma is akalika is not to say that there's no such thing as time. It's just that Paṭiccasamuppāda, the Dhamma, is a description of the nature of anything whatsoever that has the nature, anything that has the nature to be there in your experience at any moment, at any time. It doesn't matter when. So yeah, I think that's I think Armin's you put your finger on it. The difference between, I guess, my interpretation of Paṭiccasamuppāda and the traditional interpretation is that the traditional interpretation is a kalika interpretation, and mine would be an akalika. It's not got anything to do with time. Time is just another phenomenon that's dependently arisen.
Yes. And may I say something too? Okay, thank you. This depends of our thinking. Vitakka vichara. And this is if there is time or not. And that means it's also a perception. And it said in till the first jhana, there is thinking. And from the second jhana, there is no thinking. There is no time.
I see.
Maybe we should also open up a little bit to other questions. Otherwise, it maybe gets too technical for some. Would my suggestion?
Okay. Sorry. I wanted only to come to the yoni. So I'm sorry.
Why don't we change to Venerable Metaji? I think from Australia. Welcome, Bhante.
Thank you, and thanks to everybody for this wonderful opportunity. And Bhante, wonderful talk and great explanations. So ironically, I wanted to bring up Yonissamanisakkara. Could you give your perspective, please, in terms of if people have followed objects in their meditation for years and years, how could they trust in Yonissamanisakkara, and what pitfalls do you see in people practicing Yonissamanisakkara? Please.
Yeah. It's a good question. That's the thing. So most people's experience of meditation, mine definitely, and for many years, I was focusing my attention on a meditation object. And if I wasn't doing that, I wasn't meditating. And I guess I had to make a real effort. I had to kind of go through, make a sort of a concerted effort to stop doing what I've been doing for so long. Can I sit here, for an hour without trying to focus my attention on something? But that doesn't mean like, so that's the thing, that then you might think, well, I'll just, no, and I'm just allowing my thoughts just to take me wherever I go, and I'm lost in my own little, okay, no, that's not meditation either. So I guess in order to develop yoniso manasikara, in order to keep in mind some sort of feature of your experience that is not directly in front of you, but is the necessary condition for whatever it is that's in front of you. In order to do that, you sort of have to develop the perception of these things. You have to kind of clarify for yourself that body that is not the object of my attention, but what makes it possible for me to be attending to this thing. So how do you clarify? How do you clarify the perception of the body, the right perception of the body? The body is the background. Yeah, I don't know whether I can give like, very clear, practical, do this, then do that, then do this. It's just a matter of questioning for yourself. How do I understand? When I say body, what do I mean? And, at first, for most people, the body is going to be just like some object. And you have to just kind of realize that, no, actually, I can... the word kaya in the suttas isn't being used to refer to a body. It's being used to refer to a sense, isn't it? It's something that's on the other side of all tangible objects. There's the tangible things out there in the world, the touchable things out there in the world, potamba, and then sort of on the other side of that makes it possible for there to be touchable things is this body. So I guess what I'm saying is that might sound conceptual at first, but I think that's where it has to begin. You have to begin by clarifying these perceptions that you have of things like my body. Once you see that your perception of your body is actually kind of in line with what it is that the Buddha's talking about in these suttas, then it's just a matter of bearing that in mind, keeping hold of it, not forgetting. And I guess the most practical thing I can say is the biggest thing that's going to prevent you from maintaining a yoniso perspective on your experience is a lack of restraint. breaking precepts, acting out of greed, aversion, distraction. That's how you are actively pushing your sort of focus, or pushing your focus out onto the world of sensuality, the sensual objects. The more you engage in greed, aversion, delusion, the more you are hooked into visible things, audible things, tangible things, smellable things, tasteable things, touchable things, as opposed to the necessary condition for all of this. So I guess a combination of keeping the precepts, virtue and restraint, not feeding greed, aversion, distraction, and just putting up with the discomfort that comes from restraining yourself, and contemplating, clarifying what these phenomena that the Buddha is describing in the suttas, what they actually are, what they mean to you.
So is it fair to say that as long as I'm not a stream entrant, whatever I think that Yoniso Manasikara is still kind of needs an upgrade, or I can't believe that what I think Yoniso Manasikara is correct? Is that like I have to keep on working on it, basically, or thinking that, yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So I think certainly Paṭiccasamuppāda, I think yeah, so basically if you realize, you ask yourself, you know, am I free from suffering? Not. If you're still constrained, you know, within this domain of suffering, then that's an indication that, yeah, you don't know yet what Paṭiccasamuppāda is, or let's say, as you put it, maybe your understanding of Paṭiccasamuppāda needs an upgrade. Yoniso Manasikara, it can, like, I can, like, so it's, you know, it's talked about as being a necessary condition for the arising of the right view. My sense is that when the kind of when the phenomenologists were doing like their best work, I would be happy to call that Yoniso Manasikara, but without the right view. They're going in the right direction. They're considering not just what's in front of them, but they are thinking about the kind of broader picture. What it is that makes this possible. But then there are suttas where it sort of says, yeah, Yoniso Manasikara, it's only really there for the Arya Savaka. So yeah, so I think I guess maybe the difference is that for an ordinary person can be reflexive or reflective. They can, you know, consider. They can not just be locked into what's under their nose and just you know, fully engaged in sensuality. They can be kind of more disengaged, more detached, and aware of the bigger picture. so I would be happy to say that for a Paṭicca, that an ordinary person, that's there is yoniso manasikara, at least to some extent for them. The difference is that they haven't yet seen that necessary condition that makes it possible for all of this has the nature to appear, has the nature to cease. So Paṭiccasamuppāda is not just when there is this, it's also when this appeared, and when this ceases, this ceases. So it's seeing the impermanent nature of the very ground of your existence. Not just seeing the ground of your existence, but seeing that it is unreliable, impermanent, subject to cessation.
Thank you. And another question.
I have also a question. It's kind of like one approach I have to sort of understanding Paṭiccasamuppāda as far as I can, or I should say more precisely, not understand it more accurately. So basically, let's take the Vijnana Namarupa pair. So, but I'll say it like this. Like there is, say there is a cup on the table. So there is the thing that is seen. And also there is the fact that it is seen. So that's the consciousness part. The presence of it is the consciousness. The object itself is the Namarupa part, the designation and form, basically. And if I was actually seeing Paṭiccasamuppāda, all of my experience could be simply explained in those terms. There is the seen, and there is that which is seen, like the fact that it's seen and that. But that's not my case, because in my case, there is also the phantom behind the eyes, so to put it. Like, there is the seen, there is the fact that it is seen, but there's also kind of a third phenomena there that is kind of different than both of these, that requires like a separate classification, and that's like the center of my experience. Like if I kind of asked a couple of people about it, and they mostly agree it's like the thing behind the eyes. But the reason that I call it phantom is basically because it's like it's so vague, it's a phantasm, literally. You cannot, it doesn't have a shape, doesn't have a form, and it's
That's
there.
right. And yet it is. Sorry.
It has depth, and it kind of requires itself to be a third stick. So it's not two sticks, it's three sticks for me. And that's how I know that I don't see with this is.
So that, so that phenomenon that you're describing there, that's what sense of self.
Yeah.
Is something that has appeared within your experience.
Yeah. And I don't see it as such. I know that I should be seeing it as the thing that's seen, but I don't. It's me. It's a me. Yeah.
Yeah. So the way in which you described Namarupa Vijnanam is slightly different from the way I would describe it. I don't think I can really maybe get into all of that now. But basically, just generally speaking, most generally speaking, Namarupa Vijnana. Namarupa is basically what it is that's there in your experience.
Yeah.
And Vijnana is the presence of whatever it is that's present in your experience.
Sorry, Bhante, just another thing I don't forget. The phantom behind the eyes is what I sort of see.
It's another thing that has appeared in your experience.
Yeah. But that's what kind of, when he says Sakaya in the suttas, that's what I kind of, that's the phenomena I map onto it, basically. Like, there's the Sakaya. What is Sakaya in my experience? Well, it's the phantom behind the eyes. And it's because because there is Sakaya, I don't see Paṭiccasamuppāda. There are three sticks. Sorry, just had to say that.
Okay, so if you can see, like you can clarify for yourself that phenomenon, that center behind the eye that's there in your experience, that's something that has appeared. Now, if consciousness were to just suddenly end, could that remain? No, so it's fully dependent upon consciousness, the fact that you're alive. And can you, like, you in control of, you know, when consciousness, how long consciousness lasts for? No, that thing, that phenomenon, that sense of self is just something else that you find has appeared in your experience, and it's dependent upon something that you can't rely on. It also is unasked for, thrown upon you, impermanent, of the nature to cease. So with that Arianyana, that noble way of constant, like, bearing in mind whatever that could be there in my experience depends upon something that can't be mine. It's unownable. Then even that sense of self here is included within that. You've undermined the selfness because it depends upon something that can't be yours.
Yeah, there's literally no connection there in my experience. It literally just seems like a completely separate thing that, and you know, it's just gonna take more restraint over time. So it's like yeah. I just wanted to check if I was, yeah.
Then Roland wanted to ask a question. Roland, where are you? Here.
But it was just related more to meditation and not to Paṭiccasamuppāda. So it's not.
I think it's possible to ask. Why don't you do?
Okay, so I go ahead if you want. First of all, I want to thank you, Ante, for giving us this talk and the time you spent with us. I was just wondering. A few minutes ago, we've been talking about meditation. And you said, well, it's difficult to have an object, or it's difficult to have a proper object because it's not really a source where it's coming from. So I wonder, including me, I was always thinking, well, if you look at your breath, that's the main reason for your body to exist. So why, if you look at the breath, it's like anapanasati. It's just the proper way or the proper object for a meditation. And I wanted to have your opinion about that.
Yeah. I guess you know. So I used to think that anapanasati was about trying to fix my attention on my breathing for as long as possible. That's the focus of my attention. So the breathing for me was an object of my attention, not what it is that makes it possible for me to be attending to anything at all. That's what breathing is. Breathing is something I can attend to, but I can sort of not focus on it and, you know, attend to something else. Meanwhile, remembering that this is only possible because I'm breathing. And that breathing is yet again something that's just been thrown at me. I didn't ask to breathe. and it's going to come to an end at any moment. It has the nature to cease. I've no idea when or how or where it's going to come from, that cessation, but it's going to cease at some point. Any moment. I am forever on the brink of the end of this breathing. And if there's no breathing, then there's no all of this other stuff that I'm attending to doesn't, you know, that's not going to last, is it? So it's again seeing feeling as, as breathing, not so much as a focus of my attention, but as something that supports, that makes it possible for my experience. And so I can attend to it, but then I can look away from it, knowing that it's still there, and establishing this mindfulness, this awareness that whether I look at it or not, it doesn't matter. All of this depends upon this breathing.
Yeah, thank you.
So again, going back to Venerable Metaji's question, maybe sort of practically how to develop this in terms of like meditation. Can you do that? Can you spend time not rather than keeping your attention focused on your breathing, actively sort of make the effort to, well, no, I'm going to look away from my breathing, but I'm not going to forget it completely. Keep a corner of my eye on the fact that all of this depends upon this breathing that is here, whether I look at it or not. And it's not like I can't own it. I can't, it's not like I didn't create it and I don't, you know, it's just something that a burden that I have to live my life within.
But Bhante, isn't it so that you can practice in a different way anapanasati? And if it's satipatthana, then so if I practice anapanasati as a satipatthana praxis, then I see and understand the quality, and the quality is that breathing is a sankharo. The Buddha said breathing is a sankharo. It's
something that my experience depends upon.
Yes.
That's what sankhara means. It's just so it's something that my breathing depends upon. It's something that my whole experience depends upon.
So I only wanted to say, what is breathe attention or observation, anapanasati? So you can practice it in a different way. But if it's satipatthana, then you see it this way. That's my access and my understanding.
Yeah. So I would say that it's the same. There's no difference between anapanasati or whether it's part of satipatthana or not. It's just all developing mindfulness, remembering that my whole experience depends upon this unreliable thing that's there, whether I look at it or not. And it's just resting precariously, can fall at any moment.
Yes, thank you.
There's another place in the suttas where the Buddha asks Venerable Aritta, do you practice mindfulness of breathing? And he says, yes, I do. He says, how do you practice mindfulness of breathing? He says, not something like, having given up all sensual desire for past sensuality, having given up all future, having destroyed all future sensual desire for sensuality, completely having abandoned all sensuality, I dwell mindful. Mindful I breathe in, mindful I breathe out. And the Buddha says, yes, that is mindfulness of breathing. That is anapanasati. I do not say that it is not. So there's just different ways in which the Buddha describes it in the suttas, but I think it's basically the same thing.
Dear friends, let us come to an end. We passed the 1 o'clock limit and some people have to leave. I see reading here. Yes, goodbye.
Yeah.
Lars, thank you. It's so wonderful to see how you live the monk life in solitude, and I think one of the impression or inspiration is also to see how it actually works, that someone staying alone, being a monk, having the time to ponder and reflect about the Dhamma. And thank you for sharing your insight today. I hope we will meet you again in the future. Bhante Akiñcano, thank you all for attending. Thank you very much, Bhante Akiñcano, for your talk and for the question and answers. And please, those who are still in the Zoom, if you want, please support the online work of Bhante via a link that I sent you in the chat in the very beginning.
dhammastudies.thinkific.com.
On that webpage, you may also find courses which you can attend online with Bhikkhu Akiñcano.
Yeah.
So I wish you all a very good weekend and further understanding of Paṭiccasamuppāda. And Bhante, stay healthy and be well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Raymond.
Ben. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everybody.
Bhante.
Thank you.
Take care.